So where am I going here now?
So we have a special guest. I don't know if this mic's on.
Can you turn the final mic on, Brett, so that Pat can talk? Not mic 3, mic 4.
On.
So this is a special guest. This is my secret guest.
Okay.
Jason had his, Peter Buck.
Yeah.
And this is mine. He is a legend in talk show guests, and now he will be adding the best show to his roster.
Okay. How do I bring this person on the show?
I think he's on our Zoom.
I'm going to bring him on for you now, Tom. Here he comes.
Thank you, Brett.
This is the Amazing Kreskin.
The Amazing Kreskin.
That's right.
Hello.
Is this Tom Scharpling?
This is. Is this the Amazing Kreskin?
Yes, and it's amazing that we're in communication. This is remarkable, Tom.
This is truly special, and you, sir, it is an honor to speak to you.
Are we doing audio and video?
We are on audio only.
Okay.
We are on audio.
Audio only. No video.
We're not on video, Tom.
We're not on video. We're good. We're just audio only.
Yeah.
You're fine. Okay, you're good to go then, Preston.
Okay. I'm good to go then, Tom. I wish I could help you better than that, but I don't. I'm not an expert technologically. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you don't have to worry about that for a second. We're rolling and we're doing great.
It would have been nice though to get some video, maybe in the future. You know, I don't want the people to misunderstand you and think that you're talking to me from another planet, because I'm not on another planet. I'm somewhere in the United States.
You don't worry about that. You're a legend, and you don't have to worry about that.
Well, but it's nice to be able to see, you know, and that can be corrected in the future. Where are you now? Are you in New Jersey right now?
I'm not in New Jersey. I'm in Los Angeles now. I'm on the other side of the country. So I have you've got a 3-hour lead on us.
Oh my God! So it's 3 hours earlier there, huh?
Yeah. We're it's the morning still here, and we're doing our thing. Yeah. And
having performed all over the world, I know what it's like when the times are different, and we just move on with life, and that. But make sure you're eating well, because I don't want you to collapse from lack of food.
No,
That'd be terrible, Tom.
I'm trying. I'm trying, sir. Now, you were on The Tonight Show. How many times were you on The Tonight Show?
88 times.
8? Oh, my goodness.
The numbers have been varying and so forth, but we had quite a rapport, Carson and myself. What was interesting is that when Johnny took over The Tonight Show and I was doing the show, Steve Allen had originally, I don't remember Steve Allen, but he was in broadcasting and had The Tonight Show before then. And he went to LA, and there's a story behind the scenes which people in the industry find very intriguing, but he decided that to fly me to LA to do his late night show, which was popular with college students, what have you. I think it was heard around 10:30 or 11:30 at night. I'm not sure. So I go out there. I had never met Steve Allen before. I always admired him because he was a very creative man. In fact, before he died, he said, "You've got to do the life story of this Tonight Show because you've had more experiences than most people regarding it." So anyway, I get out there, and I said to the crew, I said, "You know, everybody's seen me on Carson's show, the Mike Douglas show, all these shows, what have you." I said, maybe we shouldn't meet before the show starts. Let me walk right on as the first time he's met me and what have you. They said, "We understand that. That makes sense." So like a fool, and I'm not saying that I'm a professional fool, but I do sometimes, Tom, some not well thought out things. I come on the air. It's in a studio. There's a studio audience, and Steve Allen is standing, maybe 20, 30 feet away from me at the other end of the stage. And I'm walking on the left side of the stage as I face the audience. And as I'm walking towards Steve Allen, who's the distance away, and I'm standing near the edge of a stage. I'm looking at the audience, which showed my great knowledge of broadcasting, because I didn't take warnings that in those days, in the 1950s and 60s, the cameras were very hot and very blindingly hot. And I'm walking towards Steve Allen, and the lights around the camera, around 6 or 8 of them, are blinding me as they get close to I said Steve Allen. I didn't mean him. You understand what I meant?
Sure.
Yeah. When I get close to him, I trip over the dais and fall flat on my face. My family considers that the highlight of my career.
That was their favorite moment. Well, that's.
But the full story is something that's very, very fascinating, because he interviewed me. It was a half-hour interview and so forth. And Carson happened to be looking in late that night, because it was around 11:30, what have you, and watched the show and saw what happened. And a few weeks later, 6 or 7 weeks later, added to Karnak, the character that he was playing, added a feature to Karnak. And whenever you saw Karnak walk on, he tripped over and fell flat on his face.
Absolutely.
On the dais. And he stole that from my experience.
I had no idea. I had no idea that came from you. That's amazing.
Yeah. So the last time I was doing the Carson show, and of course he was brilliant, and I was saying, Johnny, you've been very good to me through the years. I mean, you even mentioned me when I'm not on the show. He says, "Oh, the mighty Karnak." Mm-hmm. So the stories I could tell you regarding all these programs are fascinating experiences in themselves. And I have the traveling, of course, is the other feature, because as the airline announced just about 2 years ago, at that point, they figured out that I have flown so far in my career a little over 3.5 million miles.
Wow.
3.5 million. It's more than that now, but that's the mileage. So the stories are very intriguing through the years.
Well, that is amazing. That is amazing. And you have had such an amazing career as a mentalist and as an entertainer. And you are now currently doing shows, and these are going to be your final shows ever.
Well, let's not use the word final, because I don't understand the definition of the word final.
Sure.
And since I love my work, I'm 87 years old, and have a schedule that's off the wall. From private affairs to corporate affairs to theaters and so forth, I'm going to be doing a slew of shows that are going to take place in Atlantic City at the Showboat. But I love my work, and my work has been a great passion in my life. The background of the story of my show goes to a character that young people don't know about, and that is there was a comic years ago when I was a kid called Mandrake the Magician. Mm-hmm. Now, he wasn't a magician. He had hypnotic abilities. He had telepathic powers and what have you. And it was a cartoon that became very, very popular. And as I got so intrigued, because my family would read to me comic books. I wasn't able to read when I was 5 years old, or 6 or 7 or 8. And I have a few hundred of the initial Mandrake comics and what have you. Mm-hmm. So as I slowly became so intrigued with this character that one time when I was in 3rd grade, our teacher said to us, "We're not going to play. I'm not going to tell you stories now. We're going to do some skits and what have you." And she picked someone in the audience, Jane Hamilton, who was in 3rd grade, and said, "Jane, go out of the classroom, stand outside in the hallway. We're going to hide a beanbag in one of the desks here." So she called Jane to come in and said, "Jane, walk around the room." The room was seated about 28, 30 people, what have you, kids. And she said, "If you're finding getting close to where it's sitting will say you're getting warm. If you're not close, you're getting cold. And Jane found it. I was extremely disappointed because this game fascinated me no end. So what happened was I went home and I went to my grandparents' house. They were from Sicily. And I said to my brother, who was 3 years younger, and I said, Joe, go upstairs at Grandma's house. They built this with their own hands. Hide this nickel or penny anywhere in Grandma's house. So he runs upstairs, hides the penny, and I'm standing outside on Roseland Avenue in Caldwell, New Jersey, and I'm waiting for him. And he finally shouts to me, he says, I've hidden the penny. I said, okay, I'm coming upstairs. And I walk upstairs the steps, walk into my grandparents' kitchen. My grandmother's sitting there. She didn't speak English. My grandfather spoke some English. And I start walking aimlessly around the house and end up in my uncle's bedroom. Now, there was no communication because my brother, we didn't plan to talk about anything. And when I get into my uncle's bedroom, because he was at work, I climb up on an old chair because I was only a few 6, 8, 9, 10 years old. So I climb on the chair and I'm reaching up on the windowsill and feeling, and suddenly I felt the penny. And that was my finding the penny, except that I forgot something. I forgot to tell my brother to talk to me, to tell me where it was hidden, what was going on, and what have you. And it got around the family. And slowly, in private affairs in school, my teacher, Miss Galloway, set aside one Friday later hidden, except that nobody told me where it was. No one hinted to me where it was. No one said anything. I just walked into the classroom, and I was doing this with my private family and what have you. And it became slowly evolved by the time I was in my late teens to something that's been associated with me all over the world. I've done in Japan, I've done in China, I've done in Saudi Arabia with audiences that don't even speak English. I turn my fee over to my audience and I leave the building. At Carnegie Hall, they had me stand outside while this 4-story building, they hid the object somewhere in the building. When I come back in, I don't ask any questions. The committee just thinks of what they've done. And if I don't find my check, I forfeit my fee. The money is returned to the audience. And I've done this a few thousand times. I've only failed 12 times in my career. One of the most famous was a gymnasium I was performing in, because I've done over 5,000 college shows in this country and Canada. And I was performing at this gymnasium, but they had it in a gymnasium, not a theater, because it turns out it was family weekend and they couldn't fit all the students, the parents, the family that was coming in to celebrate the weekend. So they just picked this gymnasium to have it in. And when I walked in the gymnasium, I'm practically tripping over people because some are lying on the floor, some are on mattresses that are lying there, and somewhere in the building is the check that they've hidden. I turn and come up to this man, elderly gentleman. He probably was not a teacher, but he was a parent. And I said, sir, would you open your mouth? Which was a stupid question to say. Well, there was no check. I apologized tremendously, walked away from him, walked to the door of these hundreds and hundreds of students to go outside, and said, could someone else think of where it's hidden? Someone else volunteers. There were 4 in the committee. I walked through the audience and I finally freeze, turn around and look at this gentleman and said, sir, if I embarrass you, just step down and I will forfeit my entire fee. Would you open your mouth? I know I asked you before. He does. I said, does this have to do with the roof of your mouth? And I wish we had a camera at that time, because he reached in his mouth, took out his upper plates, and handed me my check.
Unbelievable.
So you can imagine all over the world when I've had to find it in some of the most incredibly crazy places.
That's unbelievable.
So my
That is
career
so amazing.
has been like an adventure.
Amazing. And you've had quite the adventure. And sir, it has been an honor to have you on the show. You have so many stories. You're so fascinating, and you are a living legend.
Well,
and
when I will say one last brief moment, because I don't say goodbye anymore, having done a few thousand shows and what have you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again. I'm not going to say goodbye, but in the spirit of broadcasting, let's just say to be continued. And the next time I come on, I will talk to you about the incredible experiences I've had in my life in helping to solve crime cases in which I've been brought in to fight the mafia. In one case, was almost murdered on camera. And these are stories that are almost unreal, but they happen to be my true life.
Amazing. And I will say to you, to be continued. Thank you for taking the time, and congratulations on your run of shows. And I look forward to talking to you the next time we talk.
We will talk, and that I predict in the not too distant future. Time will tell. Take care. Nice to speak to you. And
Same here.
I find that name, Tom Scharpling, a very intriguing name. By the way, folks, if we're still, I say this to a lot of the people I work with, if I'm on the air in person with Tom Scharpling, folks, I dare not read his thoughts live on the air. Oh
no, you don't want to hear those
thoughts. Let's just say to be continued, Tom.
To be continued. Thank you, sir. The Amazing Kreskin. Thank you. What a treat. What a treat. Thank you, sir.